You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I am Coach Jen from Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Karen Chatton from Gardnerville, Nevada. And you are listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for January 14th, episode 3604. Good morning, Horse World.
When your start time's on Saturday and your finish time's on Sunday, and it doesn't get much better than best conditioned, and completing the challenge is the challenge, you're an endurance rider. Welcome back, Karen.
I know. I'm like, it's already 2025. I'm like, I'm like reading the show notes going, January? How did this happen?
I've settled into the January part, but I'm looking at that saying the 14th. Where did 2 weeks just go?
I know. Exactly.
Isn't it New Year's Day still?
Oh my God. We'll be doing our taxes before we blink.
Yep. You're right. There we go. Well, coming up on today's show, we will be chatting with Vera Kalila about her epic cross-country road trip and also about efforts to help horses and humans affected by the California wildfires. For those who are uninitiated, the first thing we do every time we get together with Karen, which is every single month on the second Tuesday, is we catch up on Karen's latest adventures, because endurance riders have some of the best adventures. So what have you been up to since last we spoke?
Well, last we spoke, which actually, let's see. I know, last year.
Yeah, you can say last year now, can't you?
The very last ride of the ride season, I got to go to the Fossil Falls ride, which was a new ride it's in the area of the Cozo Junction ride, and used some of the trails for any riders that might have done that.
For the uninitiated, give us what state that is.
Yes, that is in Ridgecrest, California.
There we go.
Pacific South region. I was just getting to that point. Yeah. So so I took Jovi, and we had a really great ride, finished the year. He finished in the point standings, which I was not expecting. And so he earned me my first award jacket with him in 2024. So I was kind of excited about that, and that we had a really good ride. I made it through the whole ride without my foot hurting. And so here's the irony about that. So like a week or so later, I was just doing a simple thing, not horse related. I was taking a shower. Well, maybe it was horse related. I was taking a shower, and my big shower door, these big, tall shower doors, one of them literally shattered. And all I did, as soon as it shattered and broke, I took one step back. And in doing so, because it happened, it was so fast when it happened, I literally stepped onto glass and slit the bottom of my foot open.
Holy moly.
Like, it was like that quick. I didn't have time to blink. I just stepped one step back from where I was and stepped. And next thing I know, it was like Psycho, the movie. And there's blood everywhere. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, and I scream, and my husband comes running, and I was like, oh my God. And so anyway, so the point is, I haven't gotten to ride as much as I would have liked over the last month and a half or so. But I'm still going to go do a 50 this weekend at another ride.
Just in case. Just in case anybody had any doubt at all. So this was Jovi's first full season, correct?
It was his first full season. And I believe we did 450 miles of 50s and an LD ride. So now he's over the 500 mile mark. So he's Yeah, he's getting there. He's coming along. I feel safe and confident getting on him in any conditions. I took him on New Year's Day. We did a Need a Ride, which is the Nevada Endurance Driving Association. And I've actually got him signed up to go back out, and we're going to start taking some driving lessons. And I'm actually going to do it this year. So that's my New Year's resolution for Jovi in 2025. We are going to get him trained to drive a cart.
Ooh.
I know.
How fun is that?
See, and Glenn will have even more in common.
Yeah, there we go. I have not tackled carts with the new horse yet. I got uninitiated for my new horse.
Tell me about the new one.
He's not quite 4 years old yet, so he doesn't have a whole lot of life experience yet. So I'm basically just trying to get to know him and figure out where the gaps are, right? He was really well started by a professional, but there's gaps because they didn't start him as a trail horse. They just got him started. He can gait, he can turn, he can stop, he can start. All those things are pretty solid. He's got great start in that direction, but he is terrified of bicycles, even when they're just sitting still. We have not tackled carriages yet, so I got a sneaking suspicion carriages are going to be pretty terrifying too. Dogs are not big on his favorites list. So we've got a lot of life experiences to work through. Luckily, knock on wood, he seems to be pretty doggone level-headed, and when something is unexpected, he'll do a little spook, but then the hooves stop.
And what breed is he?
He is a Kentucky Mountain Saddle horse,
Okay.
which is a relatively new breed. If it was a dog, it would probably be called a designer breed. They were only founded, I believe, in the 80s, and they just took they took horses in a particular region of the country, Kentucky, that had been bred by locals but didn't have a registry because they were breeding for a type. And they just took that type and they started a registry with it. So it's got a lot of standard bred, and probably there is some Foxtrotter and Tennessee Walker in there as well. Maybe even some Paso. It's a crazy mixed up.
Okay.
But level-headedness is praised and sought after, as well as speed of gait, which was something I was interested in. Now, I can't get him to gait fast because I suck at trying to get him to gait, but that's not his fault.
But he's still so young. I mean,
he's a baby. Yeah, he's just he won't turn 4 until April.
Okay.
So, but he's been lots of fun, and we're working on all sorts of things that he's never met before. He's okay with a flag until the flag makes that little snappy noise that in the wind. Then it's, oh my God, we're gonna die.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, mine still has the pig phobia. The pig
that's a tough one.
2 houses away. Yeah. And then, so I've been avoiding the pig because
unless you have a pig at home or literally next door, it's really hard to deal with that.
And I've got like 4 llamas next door, so the horses are just fine with llamas. But the pig, oh no. That's like,
And we have all of those things in our neighborhood. We have pigs, cows. I believe there's a place with emus, every imaginable kind of canine. All of them.
Yeah.
And plus carriages.
Yeah. And we have baby carriages, the little baby carts.
Oh, yes.
Those are all over in the neighborhood too.
Prams.
So, and the shooting ranges and the dump. And so all these things are great experiences for an endurance horse. So when you get out there on the endurance trail, you can sort of be safe, but you just never know. There's always things you can experience. And that's why we do everything we can to get the horses experienced as much as possible.
Yes, it pays off later.
It does.
Yes. We did an interview a long time ago with a person who trains horses for police forces. And they said, regardless of the horse's history, every single horse that came in was started from square one, as if it had never been touched.
Okay.
Because he said it doesn't matter how experienced that horse is. We need to know where the holes are. And it doesn't matter how tiny the hole is.
Right.
Because they have to, they have to be able to perform at that minute. They have to, if they've never experienced a siren, they're okay with that. But have they ever experienced a metronome?
Right.
Liable to have a very different reaction.
Or a kid running towards you with an umbrella.
Yeah.
That's 3 feet off the ground and bouncing along.
And then the kid trips and lands on the umbrella and screams.
Oh, yeah. You can't even make up all the things that can happen.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that I will say endurance horses can be some of the most broke horses in the horse world, because they get to literally experience so much in one day. You can't even, I mean, you could make a list. It would be 100 pages long with all the things a well-trained, experienced endurance horse goes through in their lifetime, which is, I mean, it's kind of cool, all the things that,
there's some things that well-trained, experienced endurance horses get to experience that I never will regardless. And that's like cliffs, suspension bridges. We're never going to experience those. No.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
No, I don't know about James, but I have terrible vertigo. So
I don't blame you. I always have the outside leg really snug on my horse when we're on the side of a cliff or
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I don't want to look down over the cliff to the one side, but I have to in order to vomit. So it's a lose-lose.
Aww.
Speaking of experiencing lots of things, the second thing we do after we catch up on all of the adventures in Karen's life or the training adventures is you always do a little endurance tip for us. And I'm going to put a little warning out there that your endurance tips are useful for everybody, not just endurance riders. And what have you come up with today?
Well, for this month, I'm going to talk about packing a crew bag.
Tell everybody what a crew bag is.
A crew bag is a bag, and some of the vendors make what they're called crew bags, where they have multiple different pockets and sections, so you can separate the horse food from the human part or the horse part and other items and stuff that you want to pack to send out to a vet check, or even at an in-vet check if it might be far away from where you're parked with your horse trailer, so you don't waste a lot of time going back and forth. You can have your little crew area set up, but a lot of times rides have vet checks where they are what we call out. So they're not in camp. They're not back in base camp. So they're far away. And I believe the one I'm going to go to this coming weekend is that way, where we pack our crew bag. And when we're out there, they provide a certain amount of stuff, usually horse food, water. Sometimes they provide human food and human water and drinks and snacks and stuff like that. But anything else you want to have, you pack in a crew bag. So I'm going to talk about some of the things we want to pack in our crew bags to send out. And one thing to keep in mind when you do this is you cannot pack everything and the kitchen sink, because volunteers are often having to load and unload 50 or 100 crew bags to go out to the vet check and then to come back. So you've got to keep that in mind. Keep it reasonable with what you're packing and what you're putting in there, so that you don't make it, something that it's like 100 pounds. You know what I mean? So you got to be reasonable. So you want to pack hay, feed. I like to use gallon-size Ziploc bags to put the feed in, whether it's a complete feed, a grain. There's a lot of different brands of stuff. Usually you like to have at least a couple different kinds of that for your horse. And honestly, once you get to the vet check, your horse is always going to want what the other horse has anyway. But
yes, always.
Always.
Bring a variety, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So you want to have a variety of that. And these are all things you can do ahead of time, even before you leave to go to the ride, so that you're prepared and have less stuff to do once you get there. So, pack your gallon-sized baggies of the feed, pack a little bit of hay. A lot of rides do provide hay, but I don't always count on it. I've been at rides where something didn't go right and the hay wasn't there, or for whatever reason, your horse doesn't like their hay.
Well, see there, that's something that would come to mind right away for me because I have some picky eaters, and if it's not their hay,
that's right.
Yeah.
If you want to feed any treats, pack that, apples or carrots, electrolytes, blanket or a sheet, especially if it's going to be cold, windy, or wet, a feed pan or two, to put their food in, and a small bucket or a small foldable kind of bucket so you can get the water. Because if you can, you want to make the feed into a mash, extra hoof boots. For the rider, you want to bring snacks, pack a lunch. If this is like a midway point lunch, pack it. A lot of rides will provide snacks or food, so check on that. But it's still always good to have some, food or protein for you. Drinks, if you want your own drinks, or the electrolyte powder that you can add to water, if that's what you need. I know with me, I need to keep up on my electrolytes so I don't get, too sore or muscle sore by the end of the ride. Sunscreen, a little bit of TP, a small first aid kit. If you're on any medication, pack that. Additional stuff that might be helpful or useful to have, a Desitin, because sometimes you need to put that on your horse to prevent scratches if it's like really super sunny or there's alkaline soil on the ride, or some horses are just prone to it. So having that on hand is useful. Or if they get a ding or something, put some Desitin on it. Vet wrap, a small foldable chair or stool, rain gear in case there's a chance of rain. And you can start, trust me, you can start a ride in the morning perfectly sunny and clear, and by noon or later, it can be pouring rain or snowing. The weather changes drastically on some of these rides in the mountains, so you want to have stuff just to be prepared on the off chance that can happen. Extra little strips of string or leather or stuff to tie things together, to fix stuff, a Leatherman type tool, which, is a good thing to have on your saddle, or a screwdriver, a little bit of duct tape if you're riding at night on like a 75 or 100, or, and even on a 50 during the winter on the short daylight days of the year, a change of clothes, a jacket, glow bars, flashlight or a headlamp, extra batteries, a rump rug for the horse, all those kind of things. You just have to tailor it to the specific ride and the time of year and the weather conditions. So there's a lot there. A sponge or a scoop, a lot of that you'll have with you on the horse, but some rides you're not going to need it until you get to the vet check or after that. So those are the things you kind of plan on and you can put in your crew bag for later. But again, just be aware that you've got volunteers that are hauling this stuff in and out to these out checks for you. So try to be considerate and don't weigh it down too much.
Yeah, you don't need to bring a pound of 5 different kinds of feed.
Right.
You need to bring 2 handfuls of 5 different kinds of feed. You don't need 5 pounds of carrots. 2 carrots will do.
Right. Just exactly. Keep it kind of under control. Try not to, if you're, some of the little extra stuff, if you're going to pack the extra jacket that you think you might need because you're doing a 75 or 100 and you're not going to need it till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just, be aware you don't need to pack, 10
well, yeah, if you take note of the schedule You pack your crew bag for the particular stop it's going to. So if you're gonna if you're packing your crew bag for a stop that's going to happen at 11:30 in the afternoon when it's 78 degrees and sunny, because you can look at the weather report, you don't really need to put your parka in there. If you're packing your crew bag for a stop that's going to happen at 5 in the afternoon when the weather is going to be different, you have to do that.
Right. Oh, God. And I've done rides where it starts out sunny and nice in the morning, and by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a blizzard.
Oh, yeah.
And you and you can't even see the ribbons anymore because they're covered in snow.
Hourly weather is your friend.
You've got to be prepared. And that's the benefit of having a crew bag. And
there you go. Now, do people use things that are not bags? Do people use like plastic totes and stuff like that? Or is it always a sack?
People use like 5-gallon buckets that
whatever they use. Okay.
And they can put everything in that. I've seen people actually use trash bags.
There you go. That sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, you can use a duffel bag, a gym bag, all sorts of things. And I'm kind of I'm the kind of person that just takes what I've got, make it work. So I will take a strip of duct tape and a magic marker or black marker and peel it off and write on it what's in each section of my bag with the different pockets so that I know, or on the few sections you might have somebody helping you, which doesn't usually happen for me. It's
amazing how fast your crew area becomes complete chaos. That always amazes me.
Exactly.
It starts out all organized and neat and pretty. 3 minutes after the rider comes in, it's complete chaos.
And you know what happens? You go to the ride and you're all like, I cleaned out my trailer after the last ride because I knew it was the end of the ride season. I cleaned everything out. I washed out the horse part. I removed all the hay out of the mangers. I cleaned and I washed and then I'm like packing for this ride and I'm going, why did I do all that? Now I have to put everything back.
You have to put everything back in again.
You put it all back. And so now I've got all this, but it's fine because everything's clean and it's all nice. But I'm going to go to this ride and I guarantee you when I pack up to come home, it's like nothing seems to go back the way it came out. So, no, it's kind of funny because it's like, when you're packing to come home, you just put everything back. It just doesn't. You just throw it in. It's not a puzzle where everything has its piece where it has to go back or it won't work. No. Not us endurance riders. We just put everything back.
You stand 10 feet away from the horse trailer and just start winging things into the tack room.
We just start putting it away. It doesn't all go back.
It's just going in there. Well, speaking of putting things away and having things in the right place, why don't we give Kristen from the Distance Depot a holler and find out what she's got at her place this month?
Well, good morning, Kristen from the Distance Depot. Today we're going to be talking about your ice products. But first, since we just got done talking about crew bags, can you tell us about the crew bags and those options real quick?
Sure. And you're talking about crew bags like you would take out to the vet check or
have
at your... Yeah, okay. We have a few different varieties. One of the most popular one is the Easy Care Deluxe Hay and Gear Bag. And that one comes in navy blue and black. And a lot of folks put embroidery on it so you can have your farm name or your name. But it has great big pockets so you can put separate pockets. So you can put a flake of hay and your grain on one side. You can have your blanket or your cooler and your rain jacket or goodies, food, all kinds of stuff in different pockets in there. And that's really handy. But it's a nice thing to add the embroidery to as well. And then we have some other bags. We have larger duffel bags and, hay bags, big hay bags that you could also separate out and put your cooler in. I like the gear bag just because you can separate the hay from the other things and it doesn't get all covered in hay. But ultimately, as we all know, everything gets covered in hay in the end. But yeah, we have lots of different crew bags. Cashel also makes a really nice crew bag and really big and roomy. I think, quite a little bit bigger than the Easy Care bag. But those are on our website, and you can certainly find those. And I think they're under for the campsite. So you can go there and under bale bags and hay bags, and you'll find the crew bags in there as well.
Okay, great. And so ICE stands for in case of emergency. And this is an important thing because right now in Southern California, there has been a huge amount of fires, as most people listening know. It's been big in the news and just like apocalyptic type stuff going on. And so in case of emergency, you have some products that are items where you can put all of your necessary contact information and put it on your animals, whether it's dog, horses, or other livestock. So tell us about those products.
Okay. Well, for the dogs, we do have an ID collar. And, I looked these up because I wasn't quite sure exactly how to find them on the website. We have them in some accessories pages, but I simply typed in, because it's I.C.E. for in case of emergency. I just typed in case of emergency, and they all came up. So you can see all the different options, and there are 4 of them. We have for the dog collars. For the dogs, it's a waterproof material. It's a tag, essentially, with a Velcro closure that will wrap around either a 3/4 inch or a 1 inch wide collar. And they're 2 different sizes, so you can select what size would fit on your dog collar. And then you take a black ultrafine Sharpie and you write the information. It has they have red cross on the outside. So they have 2 red crosses, all of these items. So they stand out. They can be easily seen. And I know most people for their dogs have those little dog collars, and even for their horses now. I know a lot of people have those we used to have them on the separate bridles with the horse's name or whatever and a phone number, which is great. But if they're not wearing their bridle, then what do you do? So we have these other items, which are kind of handy. But there's a lot more. You can put more information. So there's a place to put, are they microchipped? You can circle that. You can put your name, your vet's name, phone numbers. Do they require certain medicine? And of course, they're waterproof. And once you use the ultrafine Sharpie, all that information stays put. So we have that for the dogs. And then we have several things for your horses. The first one that came out was the clip. It's sort of a scissor clip with a piece of nylon and the same waterproof material with the same Velcro closure. And it allows you to put all that on there. Comes in 10 different colors. And you can clip it on a halter, clip it on your saddle. So even if you're just out riding and it's not an emergency necessarily, except when you become separated from your horse, people could easily identify him and get in touch with you. There's also a carabiner that has the same information, and that comes in 5 different colors. And these are like $17.99, $18. So very affordable and fun colors, easily seen. The carabiner clip is made to, of course, you can clip it on your tack, but it's also made to go into a braid. So if your horse isn't wearing tack and a disaster or something is coming, you can put this on and it stays secure braided into the mane. And then the last one is called the mainstay, and it actually has a plunger that you pull down, pull the hair through, and it is truly designed for true emergencies. It's not for everyday use, but would be super handy. They come in bright yellow, stuck to the mane or the tail if your horse's mane is short, and you can put it in the tail, but easily seen, and again, has all that important information.
Right. Yeah. Super important if you have to evacuate or somebody else might need to do that for you, which has been going on, right now with this disaster. It's awful. It's awful.
It is awful.
Yeah. So Kristen, tell us, how would somebody get in touch with you? What's your website and your phone number?
Okay, we are www.thedistancedepot.com. And of course, they could reach us via email, info@thedistancedepot, or phone number 866-863-2349.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And our guest this morning is Vera Kalila. We actually interviewed her last Thursday evening in between her running around between rescuing all of the horses that she rescues. She was doing evacuations and helping get horses out of the fire zone. She is in the Pacific South region in Southern California. We're also going to talk to her about her 2024 ride season with her and her daughter, Erna. And we had previously interviewed Erna prior to her entering the Tevis this last year. They traveled across the entire United States in 2024, racking up all sorts of points and miles. And she's also going to be giving us advice about trailering long distance with horses. Hi, Vera. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
We're doing good. We're curious about what's been going on down in Southern California with the fires. I see you've been helping with evacuations down there.
Yeah, it's been insane because the winds are so awful that if you even have the smallest fire, like when it starts, it just explodes. And the fires are mostly, well, at least they're starting more in, non-populated areas, like the outskirts of towns. That's kind of where it's starting, where there's shrubbery and where there's horse stables and all that stuff, right? So it's been crazy because the fires grow so fast that, at the slightest sound of trouble, so to speak, you've got to get your horses out, because unlike humans, you can't just throw your suitcase in the car and hop in your car and leave. Some horses, it takes a while to load, they get scared and they don't know where they're going, and then yesterday when we were doing fire evacuations, Erna stayed home. Tamara went with me. And we went on Tuesday night when we heard about a new fire springing up, and I knew there's horse stables in that area, and that fire exploded. That's the one in Altadena, the Eaton fire, I think they call it. And we spent all night evacuating horses and then slept for an hour and then continued all day yesterday. And we came across horses that hadn't loaded in 15 years, and then suddenly they have to load into this trailer with these strange people and go to a strange place. So, it can be quite difficult. I have quite a few bruises on my body to show that we did this, right?
And that's kind of an area with a lot of backyard horses that are, not competition horses, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mix. Now, where we were originally, the first call we went on was a boarding stable. It was a little hunter jumper stable with 35 horses. And they had everything from 2 little minis to these cute jumping ponies that probably cost like $20,000 to $30,000, right? The little kids jump them. Mm-hmm. To warm bloods, so they were in all sizes. And then after that, we were doing quite a few evacuations of thoroughbreds. There was one boarding stable that had a lot of retired thoroughbreds that were just having a riding career now or were completely retired. But right next door to them was not a boarding stable, but it was private owned stables that had thoroughbred race horses, and the lady kept saying, these horses are worth $1 million,
Jeez.
and then we got to some others where it was just, they just had 1 or 2 horses in their backyard, or 4 or 5, around that. And then there was also one other place we, for example, went to where there were all retired warm blood show horses, and they were old and blind. Some of them were blind, and we had to evacuate them. And they did really well. They probably thought we're going back to being a show horse, we're coming out of retirement. They did really well. The owner was really worried because one was completely blind and the other one was partially blind, but we kept them together, and they acted like pro show horses, no problem at all.
How far is your place from the fires?
About 100 miles.
Okay.
No, not quite.
Okay.
Take it back. Probably to Altadena, I want to say 60.
Okay.
Into the LA area, but they had us taking the horses to Pomona Fairgrounds, which is further east. Okay. So that was quite a trek to get them from where we were evacuating from to, Pomona, and then trying to drive back to get more horses. So there was a lot of driving then. So.
It sounds like that they're pretty organized there with organizing you guys to go all certain places. Is that true?
Yeah. So there is a gentleman that I've never met in person. And what he does is he scours all the Facebook posts, because, people post all these, we need evacuation help here, or for this fire and this fire. So what he does is he goes through all the Facebook posts and he organizes he organizes the information of who needs help. He may check in with those people to make sure, do you still need help? If they say yes, there is a texting group. It's like, I don't know how many people are in there, probably 40 at this point. And he'll dispatch and he'll say, okay, here's this and this address, this phone number. They say they have 30 horses. Who is in that area? And then whoever's out there says, okay, to this area, ETA 10 minutes. Okay, me 15, me 20 minutes. So then, we arrange it like that. Okay, who can get there first, right? And then they take that call. And, for example, yesterday, I went back to that one boarding ranch 4 times, I think. It's all a little blurry, but I went back there 4 times because there was no other trucks that were really close by that couldn't get there in time. And then when I picked up my last load, it was 4 thoroughbreds that I was able to get into my stock trailer. And then the owner said, okay, I have 4 more. And so then I called the dispatch guy and I said, okay, there's 4 more. Okay, we have a horse trailer coming with 4 slants. All right, now we got this call handled. So then everybody else that was maybe on the way to that call got canceled and redirected to another location.
This guy's a saint.
I know, right? Yeah, so it works out. It works out pretty well. And then, some people, for example, what my daughter and I did, we knew that the Eaton fire, they still needed more evacuations. So when there was a lull, we just went to a Starbucks, grabbed a coffee, and then parked ourselves into an area where it was quick to get to other evacuation addresses within that area. So we hung around in that area. But when it started, it was like, oh, there's 10 horses at the Kaiser Permanente Hospital parking lot. Who can get there? We need 10 horses transported off the parking lot because the owners had walked them out because the fire was spreading so quickly.
Do you worry? One other question, Karen, and I'll let you go. Mm-hmm. What do you worry? These canyons are a nightmare to drive trailers in during the normal day when you can see something. Mm-hmm. Do you worry about getting up there and not being able to get out with your trailer?
I'm a pretty good driver. No, I mean, like, for example, one of the first calls I went into, there's people evacuating with their suitcases in their cars. And it was basically a cul-de-sac, and where the horses were, so I have a stock trailer, like a big aluminum stock trailer with 2 boxes, and it's longish. It's not the size of a living quarters, but it's still, size probably of a smaller living quarters, so to speak. And the first thing I did is I sent my daughter out of the truck and said, can you just ask them, do I have enough space to turn around in there? And I didn't. And it's a cul-de-sac. And so what I did is I pulled into one person's driveway and then backed into another person's driveway across the street in order for me to flip the trailer around. And so I've gotten pretty good at this. And, people were like beeping their horns because they were trying to get out of the street, and I'm like turning around, but I did it pretty quickly. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I do. I'm always very cognizant as I'm driving into something, can I get out, Yeah. So.
Well, what a couple days you weren't planning on.
I know, right? Poor Tamara, my daughter, she is like on the couch at home because we inhaled quite a bit of bad air. and it really affected her. And I keep having like little coughing spasms, So
your picture, your post from your barn has gone. I've seen it 100 times on my Facebook page today with everybody sharing it, and I have to say, your daughter looks pretty miserable in this picture. She looks like she's done. So
she was tired, but she's also very serious.
Oh,
so
okay.
Tamara, and one of the reasons Tamara has some developmental delays.
Okay.
And so she is on the autism spectrum, and so she has her facial expressions are very like she's non-reactive.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons she has such talent with horses on the ground.
I mean, she's in there, in the worst situation, and as calm as could be. You could tell from the pictures that she's not freaking out.
No, not at all.
No.
And that's why she's so good. But she hates having her pictures taken, so she always gets mad at me when I take her picture. It's like, Mom, don't take a picture. So, but she has she's so calm. I was talking to my friend about it today, as a matter of fact. She can have a horse on a lead line that's like a kite. And she's like, okay, whatever. And just keeps walking. And then the horse is like, okay, whatever. And goes along with the program. And so, they like, she's so calm, she's so she just has a talent. She's
good for
so
her.
Calm with horses. You can give her any crazy unhandled stallion and she will get him on the halter and get him trained. She just does not react. She does just very, very calm. And I think that being so calm within herself, the horses read that.
Huh.
She got those horses that hadn't been in a trailer for 15 years. I just told the owners, I said, look, we have a system, let her handle it. And she just took that horse and said, come on, let's go. Let him sniff the trailer one time, said, come on, let's go. And that horse walked right in with her, So
and then
the
there's
owner was like,
Erna.
oh my God. Yeah. And Erna, she's the endurance rider. She's the rider of the two.
And we spoke to her a little while ago. And Karen, I know you want to talk to Vera about her very long trip.
Definitely. You had a whirlwind ride season. So congratulations on that and all your success and all the regional and national awards. We're so excited for you and Erna. So tell us about Oklahoma and North Carolina for your end of season rides that you went to.
Yes. So, gosh, into the ride season, I was looking at standings, right? And I was, and we ride so many different horses that it's hard to get some standing with one horse, right? Because we ride the horse and then the horse gets adopted and then their adopter continues riding the horse. So you don't have any, the one horse you're always riding kind of thing. So I was looking through the standings and I said, oh, Bill Thornburg, we're actually on the scoreboard. And then I looked up the rules and, it said you have to ride the same day, which on some occasions we hadn't done, where I would crew for Erna or Erna would crew for me. So it doesn't count. You have to ride on the same day. And so then we said, okay, we're all going to have to ride together and we won't have a crew. And so then I was kind of keeping track of the numbers. And it's not just Erna, but it's also my other daughter, Marin, who is away to school most of the time. But she likes to ride LDs just like me, and Erna likes to ride the endurance. And so I said, oh, let's do this. And so then I created a little spreadsheet, and then I looked at the competition and I said, okay, where have they ridden in the past? What rides do they have upcoming, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a couple of families in the Southeast and I think also in the Midwest that still had rides when we didn't. And we were so close. And so I said to Erna and Marin, like, what do you think about going to Oklahoma, And they were like, oh, yeah, let's do this adventure. And then we rode 2 days in Oklahoma. And then there was another 2-day ride in South Carolina, but there was only a 1-day ride that would count for the ride season in California. So then we said, we have the days off because we were all on vacation. And so we said, okay, let's go to South Carolina. That way we'll ride in all the areas, all the regions of AERC. And so we went on to South Carolina and had a blast. And we had we ended up with the top miles for the Bill Thornburg Award, yes. So for the most miles ridden as a family for this season.
That's great. Congratulations. So
Thank you.
What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned on this long trip?
The biggest lessons, we had taken some longish trips this season because we went out to Utah and we did a Colorado ride. And we went to New Mexico, which was 900 miles, right? And so one of the things, even with local rides, like a week prior to the ride, we start really hydrating the horses, meaning mush, and really loading them on electrolytes and making them drink a lot. Because when the horses travel, they become dehydrated, right? It's really easy to become dehydrated. So my goal during this trip, when we checked in with the vet, I wanted the vet to say, "Ooh, well hydrated," and we did actually. The vet did say, "Oh, well hydrated," and so really to front load the horses with a mush that our recipe is just beet pulp, soaked beet pulp, and highly nutritional grain, and then mixed with CMPK, and then electrolytes in there, and then. During the trip, we don't just rely on the electrolytes and the mush, but we also give paste, before they load, and then, once to twice a day while traveling. The other thing that we did I did, that was my job, is to really plan out the route and plan out the stops in advance and have places to stop. Also, scoped out any veterinary hospitals along the way, like large animal clinics. What's if, we start having a problem with a horse, and planning out the stops. So, and resting in between, like really giving the horses a rest where they're not traveling. So not, moving in the trailer, to say, okay, you drive maximum 300 miles and you take an hour rest. You drive another 300 miles and you offload your horses. And, we were like, say, at rodeo grounds, and they have a round pen or they have an arena. Give them ability to move and wait there for 12 hours, like have a complete rest stop for 12 hours, offload the horses, give them a complete rest before you put them back on the trailer. And on the West Coast side of things, there's a lot of rodeo grounds where you can offload your horses and give them a rest. And then further on toward the east, they didn't have the rodeo grounds like we have. At least I didn't know of any. So then I relied on horse motels, and there's horsemotels.com, and they have a map that shows, like we went all the way on the 40 and then dropped down to the 20 freeway to go to South Carolina. So it shows where there are horse motels. And then also, we've adopted out so many horses across the United States that, we have adopters there. So we actually stopped in Georgia on the way, and for 2 days stayed with an adopter, and the horses were turned out in their pasture. So, the planning part is really, I think, really important, and knowing where to stop, giving them the rest, knowing where there's emergency care if you need it, and, just really monitoring your horses.
That's all good advice. So how did the rides compare from the East Coast to the West Coast?
So I'm a heavyweight. I am 6 feet tall, and I hate to admit it, I weigh just a little bit over 200 pounds, right? So I'm a big girl. And when I'm on the West Coast, I joke around and I say, out of 10 riders, there will be 8 featherweights, 1 midweight, and one heavyweight, which is me, right? And then I always think, oh God, maybe I'm too big to do the sport, right? And then I go to Texas, or where we did a ride in Texas, not just recently, but we go to Oklahoma or we go to South Carolina, and it'll be 7 heavyweights, 2 middleweights, and 1 featherweight. So I was like, oh, I'm home. I have arrived. I am home, So there was a mix there. The other thing that I noticed is when I was in South Carolina, when I was in Oklahoma, there was a lot of point chasers that came, right? So they were just like us. They came from, quite far away. We had people from Minnesota. Somebody came from Vermont. They were like from all over the United States. But the South Carolina ride felt a little bit more like it was more local. And even though there were some people that came, there was a couple of people from Minnesota, I think, and somebody came from the Northeast. But I think it was more local riders. And I saw more families riding. I saw more, I'm sorry, I'm still getting emergency dings from the evacuation things. So I noticed, at least I noticed more families riding. I noticed more of a mix of people and mix of genders too. And I felt that more people rode different breeds. I saw a lot of gaited horses. There were still a lot of Arabians, but on the West Coast, I would say 80% is probably Arabian, and then maybe 20% is other breeds. Whereas I felt there, it was more like, okay, this is the horse I got, and he's a quarter horse, but I'm still going to ride LDs with him. So I would say, from what I observed, of course, it's not a scientific study, but I felt like it was like 50% Arabians and 50% all sorts of different breeds, Mustangs. I saw a lot of Appaloosas, quarter horses. I saw a lot of quarter horses riding endurance, what appeared to be thoroughbreds, like big paints, saddlebreds. So I saw all sorts of different breeds that I noticed. And I thought that was different too from the West Coast.
And so now you're going to be going from being a rider to being a ride manager. Tell us about this new ride you have in the works.
So we're working on having a ride at the beginning of May in Ridgecrest, which is, okay, we're holding our breaths. Hopefully we don't have it too hot, but then, it's California, so some rides it does get a little warmer. And it's a 2-day ride. It's intro 25 and 50 miles, and it's going to be for 2 days. Our idea of that ride was to really give a lot of the adopters that have adopted horses, kind of to make it a bit of a family reunion, but also have an opportunity to have an additional ride in our region, because we really don't have that many rides, if you think about it. There used to be way more rides.
And what are the dates?
It's May 3rd and May 4th of this year. Yeah, 2025. We're already in 2025.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Gosh, I hope I can make it.
Yeah, so it's going to be. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, we wanted to make it. My vision for this ride is not a super competitive ride. I want this to be a fun event. We actually have people who have never ridden endurance coming for intro rides, and we have a whole children's riding stable that are coming on the Sunday to ride their first ride, and they're all going to do intro rides. And so we were going to have it to where all the kids get to camp together and just have a lot of fun, because my personal goal has been to bring more people into the sport, right? Whether it be LD or endurance. And like I said, I'm an LD, luxury distance girl, and I wear that title proudly, right? My daughter Erna, she loves 50 milers, that's her thing. But we want to bring more young people into the sport and just more people in general, And I love seeing other families riding.
Absolutely. Well, let's finish up. Tell us real quick about your equine rescue and how can people make a donation?
Okay. So we're primarily an Arabian horse rescue, though we do because we take horses from law enforcement seizures and also try to support owners within our region, within our area. We do also take in non-Arabian horses at times. And currently we have, I believe it's 123 horses. We just had some horses come in today. So I have to redo my numbers, but it's primarily Arabian horses. We have a very large sanctuary portion. 65 horses are sanctuary, meaning they will never leave. They're retired brood mares or former breeding stallions that are either too old to be ridden or they have physical ailments and they can't be ridden. So we have those. And then the rest, our focus is to get them under saddle. We do get a lot of horses that are not even halter trained. So, and we rescue a lot of stallions because a lot of rescues are not equipped or don't want to deal with stallions because it takes more to rehabilitate them. And we take in a lot of stallions, and then on top of it, they come in and they're not even halter trained. So our focus there is to halter train them, to do the groundwork, to get them under saddle. And if we believe that they have endurance potential, get them started in endurance. But we also do ride a lot of LD rides with our horses that end up being, adopted into trail homes because, going to endurance rides is a great training tool since the horses have to trailer there, they have to camp, they have to ride a strange to them trail, they have to be around different horses. So it's a super training opportunity for them. So we really focus on getting the horses into endurance homes that have the talent for that and to get the rest of the horses into trail riding homes.
Can I just make a comment? That's a hell of a lot of horses.
Yeah, it is. It is. It truly is.
It's a lot of horses.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever sleep?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then you're out rescuing more. I mean, just crazy.
And I also work full time.
I heard that your full-time job's not stressful at all either. So, I mean, there's that.
Yes, I know. But I'm the type of person, as soon as I go to bed, I sleep. And I can have an elephant running through my room. I don't hear it. So I'm very fortunate that when I sleep, I really sleep. And I feel okay getting 4 hours of sleep. I do try to get my 8 hours of sleep, and that recharges me. But yeah, and I tell people I really don't do anything else in my life. I go to work, I take care of the horses, we work with the horses, and I go to endurance rides, and I sleep. Those are 5. Oh, I eat too. 6 things. But I don't have any other demands on me. You know what I mean?
Well, we're gonna let you go here. I know you're heading home after a long day. By the way, can we say what your real job is?
I work for the Department of Corrections.
There you go. So that's not stressful at all either. Although you were talking about being 6 foot, that probably helps when you work for the Department of Corrections.
Yes,
actually.
It does.
Yeah.
Everybody always says that. Yeah, everybody says that. There's an emergency alert.
Well, we're going to let you get back to that. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us today. We really appreciate it. And thank you for all the help you're giving for horses out there in California, too.
Thank you so much. And our website is just lovethisHorse.org. So you lovethisHorse.org. And that kind of leads you to our social media and information, et cetera, et cetera.
And we'll put that in our show notes as well. Thanks.
Chewy is your one-stop shop. From feed and supplements to supplies, medications, and more, delivered straight to your barn. With fast, free shipping on orders over $49 and the convenience of auto ship, you'll never have to worry about running out of the brands you trust and the products you need. You can count on Chewy to keep your barn stocked and your horses happy. Start shopping today at chewy.com/equine. So what's coming up at the AERC and the AERC convention, my dear?
Yes, we have the AERC convention is on the west coast of the country this year in Sparks, Nevada, which is right next to Reno, Nevada, for those that are more familiar with Reno.
Us East Coasters.
That's right. And it's going to be at the Nugget, which I was just there for the Sparks Christmas parade in December with Jovi. And so he got to check it out in person. So he's already been there. And he's been there a few times, actually. But it's coming up March 7th and 8th, 2025. We're going to have a trade show there with a bunch of vendors, bunch of great speakers on all sorts of topics relating to horse care and endurance riding, all the awards, that sort of thing. So come on out for that. The trade show is free if you're anywhere within range to either fly out or drive out. The trade show is free to come and shop. There's also used tack sale. So if you have tack and stuff you want to sell, or
I need to send a virtual shopper over. Are you going to be there?
Yes, I'm going to be there. You bet. I am going to be there. In fact, I am cleaning out as we speak. Literally, I am going to be cleaning out and packing up and bringing a bunch of stuff to sell. So
none of Nigel's stuff fits James, so I've been shopping like crazy.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Let me know what you need and I will look for you for sure.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that I need. So I will send you a list. And speaking of having things that you might want to pass on to somebody else who could use them when you don't need them anymore. If you have things in your tack room that are perfectly useful and wonderful, but you don't have an actual need for them, reach out to a trusted organization and see if there aren't some people out west in the fire affected areas who could use it, because as we learned chatting with Vera, there are plenty of folks out there, plenty of everyday regular folks, not necessarily the rich folks. People get down on the whole rich folks nonsense. Plenty of regular folks who all they have left are the clothes on their back, a horse and a halter and a lead rope.
Exactly. And they've lost everything they had in these fires. And it's an ongoing thing because the winds are going to come back up, I believe, tomorrow. And this could start all over again. But there are so many people, many thousands of displaced people, animals, livestock, small animals, large animals, and they have lost everything. And the Love This Horse rescue that Vera runs, they have been doing everything they can to help these people. They've been giving grants and gift cards so people can go to Tractor Supply and buy just the necessities that they need, just buckets.
Right.
And
maybe a good place to find that kind of information is go to, regardless of what part of the country you live in, go to your local AERC Facebook page or website. So reach out to those local people because they will know of organizations that they trust and use. Don't just go to Facebook and click on the first post you see that says, we're going to donate money. Make sure you do a little bit of background check and make sure it's actually going to happen. And it can be money, it can be time and help. If you're one of those people that has the luxury of a little bit of extra time that you can volunteer and help out physically, do that. If you've got extra items that are perfectly useful but unneeded, again, reach out and see if we can't help these folks out just a little bit, because you need that stopgap in there to get you through until you're over the shock and can start to settle down and rebuild.
And it's got to be tough because these people, their boarding stables have all burned down. Mm-hmm. They escaped, some of them just barely with their lives. They've lost
your house
everything.
Burnt down, so did your barn.
Exactly. Or their stables, even if they still have a house, the stables burned down, and now they're going to have to find, where did these horses go after the temporary housing that they're in? Yeah. And it's a tough situation that's an ongoing tragedy in Southern California. But if you go to lovethisHorse.org, you can click on the donate button, and that's one way you can go and know that they will get the funds into the hands of the people that really need it. Yeah.
There we go. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been fun, as usual, chatting with you, Karen. We will be back again next month on the second Tuesday. In the meantime,
go ride your horse.